What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And yesterday over on YouTube, we had a new member. We had Amy Lavelle, and we also had AITA rejoin us. And I'm not sure how these rejoins work, because some people say, oh, you're not rejoining, but it says rejoined on YouTube. So thank you anyway for your support. Just throwing that out there. And just a huge thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time out of your days to be here. You are amazing. Never forget that. And let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. And our next story comes from Jack307. Am I the arsehole for refusing to go inside while my neighbour's wife is working out? I don't want to take too long, I'll just explain quickly. I, male 37, moved to a new neighbourhood 2 months ago. I served in the military for 5 years. After that, I worked as a police dispatcher, but I moved out of town and struggled financially and was too busy getting settled to commit to a job. Now I work at the mall as a guard. I work day shifts, I get home at 6 PM. I live alone, I have a golden retriever who's friendly to the neighbourhood. When I get home, I usually take a shower, then I sit on the porch and check SM or play with my dog or just have a beer while listening to music via my earphones. My next door neighbour is a funny guy. He's married with 3 kids. He seemed nice at the beginning. He talked about how he and the previous owner were old friends and him leaving was devastating. And he repeats the same thing every time he sees me. Plus he had a spare key his old friend gave him for emergencies that he still hasn't given back yet. I'd find the mixer or the vacuum gone, and he even borrows bread and yogurt from my fridge, saying the kids wanted it, meaning the kids were inside my house too. I demanded he give it back, but I'm not sure if he made copies. I'm better off changing the locks. He also started making a series of requests, like asking me not to walk my dog when the kids are playing outside, asking me to keep my windows closed whenever I see their windows open, etc. Last week, he saw me sitting on the porch at 7 PM and he approached asking if I could go inside for 90 minutes till his wife finishes her workout in their front yard. I asked him what, and he said he felt it was inappropriate for me to sit there while his wife works out. He went on about her not being able to go to the gym these days and that she needed space and the front yard was the only space. I told him not to worry, I was just minding my own business, but he threw a fit, said he finds it unacceptable, and said he was sure I was making his wife uncomfortable as well. I got really mad and told him that it's my house, I do whatever I want, and that it wasn't my problem, and he needed to leave me alone for Christ's sake. He lashed out implying I was being disrespectful and have no shame. Then asked why he never saw any of my family visit. I told him it's none of his business. That's when he started going from door to door telling neighbours to watch out and basically spreading rumours about me. I ran by 2 of my neighbours at the supermarket and they avoided me. I kind of laughed because people used to come to me for help, now they're listening to my neighbour ruining my reputation. First part of the story where the guy's just going into your house and helping himself to your shit. I was just like, what the hell? Change your locks, dude. Why are you letting him do this? But we also had a similar story a couple of months back, I think it was, and the guy was doing the similar thing, sitting out on the porch with a beer. But there was a yoga class going out in the front yard because it was sort of like I think it was a shared accommodation or something like that. They was running their yoga class out in the yard and he was sitting there drinking beer and they all found it uncomfortable. Yes, and you're definitely not the arsehole in this situation, you know. And it's not even that part that I'm finding disturbing in this story. It's the fact that he's going in your house. I find that really, really weird and creepy for some reason. Oh, yeah. Not the arsehole at all. But let's check out some of the comments to see what they say. Sid Elvis says not the arsehole and quotes, he said he felt it was inappropriate for me to sit there while his wife works out. Narrator says, it wasn't. But man, their spare key bit is chilling. Why in the world have you not changed your locks yet? People with that level of entitlement terrify me. And OP replies to this saying, I have been planning to get all the locks changed, but I swear I always end up saying I'll do it tomorrow, and then the next, and then the next day. I don't know why I keep outing off planning, although I have plenty of time to sit and do nothing. I moved a little after my dad passed away and things have been hard on me. I'm trying to function, but this was a devastating loss. He was my remaining parent and we were very close. And Drew Donut says not the arsehole and change the fucking locks. And Consistent Leopard says not the arsehole, change your locks immediately and you may also consider installing cameras. And Memento Mori says, I'm sorry, did you say he goes in your home and takes things when you aren't there? That is utterly insane, and you need to have your locks changed tomorrow morning. As for the rest, live your life. He has some huge problems and it's never going to stop if you just give in now. He is already rude and demanding. Giving in isn't going to change that. Do your thing and ignore him. I'm sure your neighbours know how he is. I wouldn't be surprised if they ignored you because they don't want to piss him off, which means you're damned if you do and damned if you don't, since he doesn't like you already. It's a shitty welcome into a new neighbourhood, but you have to establish yourself and your space. Let him stew in whatever toxic juices he has. Be coldly polite to everything. Call the police if he gets aggressive, and get your locks changed and get cameras ASAP. Odds are he will try to get in. You want cameras the same time you get the locks done. Not the arsehole. Now, I turn this one to you guys. Obviously he should get the locks changed, but is there anything else he can do in this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Background Car 250. Am I the arsehole for telling my stepsister why I don't eat with them? So my stepfather and step-siblings are really mad at me right now. I'm 15 and haven't been eating family dinners for about 2 months now. They finally started asking me why and I told them. I'm a fairly late diagnosis celiac. As a child, I got put on so many restrictive diets while doctors tried to figure out what was wrong that I never really got a taste for most typical American foods. I also ended up having a lot of anxiety about getting sick after eating, so it took me a long time to eat even homemade gluten-free bread, and that's the only carb I really eat. Most of my diet is grilled/baked or sauteed proteins, vegetables and fruit. The only people who understand what gluten actually is are my mother, and so I don't eat anything that I, she, or a restaurant with actual gluten-free menu didn't make, or see made start to finish. My mum married a man with 2 kids who all eat a standard American diet. We were doing family meals at first with her, and I cook in a separate meal. Most of the time, I can't eat what they eat because gluten, but even the things I could technically eat just look disgusting to me. Like fried foods and barbecue and things with tons of cheese. It just looks like it's rotting or gone off. They also have terrible table habits and chew with their mouths open. Looking at it and watching them eat was disgusting, and it made it hard for me to eat my own food. I've always been barely underweight and was starting to lose weight, so after talking to my doctor we decided that I had to eat separately because I needed to eat. My stepsister finally confronted me on it, and I told her that I couldn't handle looking at their food or how they eat and just had to go somewhere else to eat my food. She got in my face about being part of the family and accepting them, and we got into it, which ended in me saying that it was probably a good thing that I had them to show me what I didn't want to be, or at least I could wear the clothes I wanted. She's the same height as me and at least 250 pounds. She started crying and left. Now even my mum is mad at me. Am I the arsehole? I just wanted her to leave me alone about it. I think this one's a pretty simple case, is that, I was totally with OP right up until that point they made that comment, and they was right about everything else, not wanting to sit with them and eat with them. If it's making you uncomfortable, if they're eating with their mouths open, I hate that too, to be quite honest. And for that alone, I would go and sit somewhere else and eat. And you have perfectly valid reasons to need to go and eat somewhere else. That's absolutely fine. But what you said, is just not on, I'm afraid. I don't think OP needed to criticise their weight in this situation. I don't think they needed to go down that road. That was just uncalled for. So I'm going to go with a very simple, everyone sucks here. Yes, I'm on the fence. Get over it. Sassy. And DSZ says, and quotes the section about the whole weight, I was with you up until the above. As I think you could probably imagine, if you can be objective enough to read your own words back to yourself and imagine you're a stranger reading them, with no associations about the parties involved to cloud judgment. Clearly your stepsister sucks for confrontationally getting in your face and not letting it go, when you made it clear you just wanted to eat on your own. But then, to almost put it in poker terms, you saw her suck and lowered it. Everyone sucks here. And Softly says, you're the arsehole for making the commentary about her weight and clothing restrictions. You're right about not having to eat with them or watch their bad habits. And Webby Vanderquack says, everyone sucks here. Your stepsister's words were insensitive, but I think you crossed a line when you showed what you didn't want to be and implicitly insulted your sister's body weight. It sounds more like you're disgusted with these people than what they eat, and you might need to think that through. And Type 1 Error says, you had me until the end. You had every right to eat separately from the rest of the family. Your stepsister should not have confronted you the way she did. The body shaming was a low blow. Everyone sucks here. And Snakes Can't Wear Pants says, I love that name every time I see it. You're the arsehole. I get that you have aversions to the food you eat, but you didn't have to be quite so blunt in telling her that the way they eat is so disgusting that you can't eat near them, even if that's how you feel. There are people you live with and who don't seem to actually have done anything wrong to you. So you could have made a tiny effort to be polite, but you didn't, and with context at the beginning of your post, it seems like that came from a judgmental place more than anything else. And her response about accepting your steps and acting like a family was not entirely out of line, and frankly a far less angry response than I would expect from a person being told, I wouldn't eat around you because you and your father and siblings are so disgusting. And then you further escalate it by making repulsive and unacceptable comments about her body. You wouldn't be the arsehole if this was just about not eating at the table, but you are, massively so, for every single choice you made in this actual discussion. Your mother has every right to be angry and disappointed in you. Now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of the situation? Would you say it's an everyone sucks here? Would you say it's a you're the arsehole? Or maybe even a not the arsehole? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story is from a beast but cute Doxin. Am I the arsehole for telling my nephew that the reason he has designer shoes is because his mother is irresponsible with the money my husband gives her? I actually did have a reason to say this. My husband has a middle income job and I stay at home. We have a 4-year-old boy and his sister is a single mum with a 6-year-old boy, his cousin. She lives in public housing and my husband gives her around $300 per month, which I found out about a year ago by looking at his bank statements. This amounts to thousands of dollars per year. Something that has always annoyed me is that she spends what I see as an absurd amount of money on items for her son that he will quickly outgrow. Since he was 2, he's worn triple-digit price tag sneakers, and for his 2nd birthday she got the whole family together and got him a cake that she told me was over $200. I see that as a waste of money for people of our income level, let alone her own. Recently we were all together at my in-laws' house, and her son tried to dunk on mine by making fun of him for getting clothes from Goodwill. Obviously he is too young to know better, but this is just stupid. My own parents were middle class, but we shopped at Goodwill because it's a good deal and it's stupid to be ashamed of it. What made me mad was after my son got visibly upset, my sister-in-law started laughing too. Like it was a cute little kid thing. I said, well, you only have nice clothes because your mother is stupid with the money my husband gives her. Cue sister-in-law screaming at me and husband looking awkwardly at the floor. He is non-confrontational, and me passively aggressively smiling until we hightailed it out of there. One of the things she yelled at me during the confrontation was that I was lazy and don't work. It's true that I don't work, but I keep our household spending down by cooking budget meals and carefully planning our budget each week. The whole incident was pretty upsetting, but she's been known to be aggressive towards me in the past, and I didn't like that she was enjoying the opportunity for her son to be mean to mine, when thousands of our own household income are going to hers each year. Now the first big red flag.
He said it! He said it!
Yes, I said a red flag. Is that, you had to find out that your husband was giving money to his sister behind his back. There's no communication there. That's obviously the big one here. And don't get me wrong, OP certainly sucks telling sister what she can and can't spend her money on. If you don't like what she's spending her money on, get a husband to stop giving her the goddamn money. That simple. Sister sucks for laughing at your kid, because you're totally right. There is nothing wrong from getting clothes from Goodwill. In fact, I approve of it. Do your thing. Absolutely. But then you went ahead and went at a child because of their parents' issues. Come on, man. Everyone sucks here. It's another everyone sucks here, and it has to be. There's no other way around it, surely, right? But the only taco boss says everyone sucks here. If she feels she is so superior for having nicer things, she obviously doesn't need your husband's support. But if you feel so sour over it, maybe have that convo with your husband instead of involving your kids. There is definitely a better way to handle that. And Rusty Shackleford 1301 says, okay, Mrs. Big Shot, you really showed that 6-year-old kid, didn't you, sis? You're the arsehole. And Creepshow22 says, very light, everyone sucks here. Her kid was acting like a kid and was rude, and she should have corrected him when he started acting out. She decided to take it as a joke and laugh, so you point out why there was such a difference in their clothing, and suddenly she didn't find it funny anymore. The only reason you're even slightly the arsehole here is because her kid was still present, and kids do dumb shit and should learn to have regular conversations and could have been corrected differently. Regardless, your husband didn't knock her up and shouldn't have to foot the bill for her decisions. I'd also talk to your husband about the allowance he gives, because $300 could really help your own household out. And Norse Shield Maiden says everyone sucks here, including your husband. Your sister-in-law for laughing at your kid, you for making this a painful situation for both kids, your husband for paying his sister without telling you, and for not calling the two of you out for how your behaviour towards those two poor kids. And a duck named Phil says you're the arsehole, you let yourself be baited by a 6-year-old and then told him something entirely inappropriate, namely his mother's financial situation. If you wanted to stop spending his money of stupid shit, then that's a conversation you need to have outside of earshot of the children with your husband. Now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation and what would you do in it? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story is from Confused Ostrich. Am I the arsehole for refusing to get rid of all the alcohol in my room after my roommate's kid snuck in and stole some, which he then distributed at a high school party? All of this starts 2 days ago, the day before yesterday. Schools are open in our area. I live in a 3-bedroom house. My husband and I rent one, and the other 2 are rented by a couple and their 3 kids, 5 female, 9 female and 16 male. We have a mini fridge in our room and use it to store things we don't want the others to have access to, like alcohol. We have a lot of alcohol. The locks on the doors are really shitty. They're just those inside doors you can open with a bobby pin, and the landlord won't let us change them. My husband and I were in the backyard and our door was locked from the inside. Unbeknownst to us, our roommate's son, who is 16, unlocked our door and snuck inside. He stole 5 bottles of wine, a bottle of rum, 3 bottles of vodka and 2 bottles of whiskey. I didn't notice until I got a drink that night. The next day, yesterday, I asked my roommate about it. She told me that she and her husband don't drink and her kids are angels and would never do something like that. However, yesterday night, her son snuck around 10 when he was supposed to be asleep. She didn't find out until he came in drunk at 2 AM. She asked him where he was, how he got drunk and where the alcohol came from. He fessed up and told her that he got it from our room when we were outside. This morning, she comes to me and tells me about what happened. I, foolishly believing that she's going to apologise, tell her that it's not a problem and teenagers do stupid things sometimes. Instead, she tells me that it's my fault for tempting him by having alcohol. She says that I need to get rid of all the alcohol in my room because her little angel is tempted to drink because of that. I tell her it's my room and the lease specifically states that we can't go into each other's room without permission. She said that he's just a kid and it's our responsibility as adults to keep him away from bad things like alcohol. Once again, I tell her I am not responsible for her son and I will not throw away a mini fridge full of alcohol because he can't keep his hands to himself. She says I'm an arsehole for having alcohol in a home where children also live and it could really harm her younger children if they get to it. They could even die if they drink enough of it. Am I the arsehole? Holy damn, that was giving me entitled parents vibe when they were saying little angel all the time. I was like, oh no, flashbacks. Although I almost covered a story from there the other day, I was tempted. But this isn't your fault. You can't help this kid breaking into your room and stealing your stuff. In fact, I would charge them for that kid drinking your alcohol. They're drinking your money away right there. Absolutely. But let's have a look straight away at the comments with St. Elvis saying, not the arsehole, call the police. That's a lot of booze, and this child needs to learn some harsh consequences, because clearly the parents do not have an appropriate sense of who's to blame here. And quotes, she said that he's just a kid and it's our responsibility as adults to keep him away from bad things like alcohol. And then says, oh honey, our responsibility. You must have confused the rest of the world for you. And Lonnie Lee 3 says, not the arsehole, send her an invoice for the booze her angelic kid stole. And Banff1701 says, not the arsehole. She is using you as a scapegoat for her son's bad behaviour. You are the victim here. Her son stole from you. He made a conscious choice to go into a locked room that he knew wasn't allowed to go into and take belongings of the residents of that room. By not placing the blame where it belongs, on the son, she's condoning the son's behaviour and saying that what he did wasn't wrong. She is literally victim blaming. She is teaching her son that when he does something illegal, that his mother will protect him from the consequences of his actions. If the mother continues to blame you for her son's actions, you can probably seek legal recourse as he broke into your home and stole from you. You can probably also talk to the landlord, as you said your lease specifically mentions that the other residents are not allowed into your room. So the boy broke the terms of the lease. Finally, there are kids all over the world who live in homes with alcohol who don't steal it. I grew up in a home where my parents not only kept wine out in the open on the kitchen counter, but had a well-stocked liquor cabinet that was kept unlocked. And I never once stole alcohol from them, so the presence of alcohol is not the irresistible temptation to the teenager. And El Riley says, not the arsehole, she should pay you whatever the cost of the stolen alcohol was and make her son apologise to you. She should be thankful you are not telling the landlord that her son broke into your room and stole your stuff. That sounds like a reason to kick them out. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation and how would you deal with it? Let me know in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, as always, a huge thank you to each and every one of you for being here, taking the time out of your day to get involved in the channel. It is amazing. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and hopefully, if you enjoyed the content, of course, I will see you soon. And if you would like to support the channel further, you can by clicking that join button down below, or heading on over to Patreon, link in the description, and joining up there. Thank you again, guys. See you soon. Much love.